Welcome to HighRoad U. At the U, HighRoad Solution believes that modern learning is all about being multi-channel, multi-format, and user-centric. We are creating educational content based on the content you want. Be sure to check out our future programming schedule by clicking on the HighRoad U in the resources link in the top right-hand corner of your screen. We are pleased to present today's Blue and R entitled Automate Your Social Marketing with Suzanne Carowin, Chief Marketing Officer of HighRoad Solution. My name is Jeff Baker, and I will be your moderator. Today's presentation will last approximately 30 minutes and include a specific question and answer period at the end of the session. You may ask questions at any time via the web conference system simply by typing that into the Q&A box on the right-hand side of the screen and clicking the call-out button or hitting enter on your keypad. These instructions will be repeated later in the program. If you have any technical questions during the event, please email support@highroadsolution.com. Today's webinar is being recorded, and all participant lines will be muted during the live program. Attendees of this live webinar presentation have also earned an ASA CAE credit. Now, I'm pleased to introduce today's content leader, Suzanne Carowin. Having held global positions in the association, nonprofit, telecom, and event industries, Suzanne has had the joy of crafting the brand story for many companies and C-suite executives, providing the strategic marketing plan and overseeing the execution of digital, event, content, and channel marketing programs. An expert in branding and go-to-market strategies, Suzanne has launched dozens of products and programs and brought several companies to market. An active participant, member, and volunteer, Suzanne is a member of the American Society of Association Executives and serves on their meetings and exposition council. With that, now I'd like to turn the call over to Suzanne.
All right, thanks, Jeff, and thanks, everybody, for joining me today. We're today going to set out to really start in looking into the topic of social marketing and really, again, how to automate it. So just to step back and really get clear on social marketing, because it's one of those terms that's bandied about but often not truly defined, or as soon as people hear it, they immediately think social media. And that is certainly, social media is certainly part of social marketing, but social marketing as a whole, if we step back and look at it as a discipline within the marketing umbrella, it really has a purpose of being able to connect people, and the whole purpose of doing that is not just to connect for this, mythical way of engagement. It is really to incite them to take some sort of action. And so we just always want to come from it from the lens of what we're going to look at today is how can I automate the way that I'm communicating kind of within this social digital sphere nowadays so I can help people to take action more quickly, to cut down and maybe to increase conversion time, and to cut down all of these disruptions that today's user has in their social experience. And so I think that'll become abundantly clear as we start walking through the platform what that actually means. So just to kind of start here, I've entitled this Social Marketing and When It's Time to Graduate, because most of us can agree that we are, most organizations today are indeed doing something within the sphere of kind of digital marketing and social marketing. And I say that because if you look at this first slide and I say, okay, what are kind of the indicators of when it is time to graduate? And so one of the indicators I would say is if you're using at least 3 social media channels. And even if you wanted to put in digital, if you wanted to put in even newsletters in there, if you're using email newsletters, if you're using websites and a Facebook, let's say, any of those things, you're using blogs, RSS feeds, the list goes on and on of what you could be using. But I put up some traditional social media channels, and some people would laugh and say that I'm saying traditional in talking about social media, but you know what, this stuff has been out there long enough that it is de facto. We can call it traditional. And the traditional ones are things like Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter, YouTube, etc. But most of our organizations, again, that we are working with that are out there are certainly familiar and have really expanded the number of social media channels and digital channels that they're now using. And the question starts becoming, at what point do you start automating these to kind of bring down the manual time it takes to actually manage them? And that's really where automation, of course, kicks in. So what about some other indicators? It's also a good indicator, though, that it's time to graduate to automation when you have more than one brand. And what I mean by that is if you are trying to do social media using multiple Twitter handles, let's just say, or multiple Facebook pages, or different YouTube channels, and if you're trying to both market the association as a whole, and then perhaps a program within the association, like, for example, Maybe you run a certification program. Maybe you have an entire program that's for one particular niche group within your membership or within your constituent base. Maybe you also have an associated foundation that also is kind of under the umbrella of your own social media people. Or maybe you have a particular product or service that you're bringing to market. Maybe you have an insurance program for your members, something like that. Maybe you have a whole new donation campaign that's going to be based on mobile giving and you want to help launch that. Whatever the case may be, if you have more than one kind of brand, something that would have a brand identity to it that needs a supporting marketing program, it's probably time to graduate to more automation around social marketing instead of trying to manage 2 Facebook pages, 2 Twitter accounts, maybe 3 Twitter accounts, 2 YouTube channels, on and on and on, right? A couple of LinkedIn pages, etc. You need a better way to do that. Now, I understand that there are tools out there in the market that people have been using for doing the aggregation of posting. Well aware of that. And that is certainly one piece of automation, but today we're going to really blow that up and go much bigger and talk about how the big brands do it. So just keep that in mind. But this is a good indicator. If you've got any of these things going on, probably a good time to think about automation for your social media, pieces of it. It's also time to graduate when you have more than one person doing social more than part of the time. What I mean by that is that most of the organizations, if you're out there, you're an association, you're a nonprofit, you're higher ed, you're in some sort of a social service organization, and you have one person dedicated to doing social media all the time, well, congratulations, because you're one of probably the 1% that do. Most organizations are still kind of having people wear multiple hats across social, and maybe it's the web person, maybe it's also the person who does email, et cetera, et cetera. But mostly we're seeing this kind of integrated mix of people trying to handle all of this. And when you have more than one person in the mix, and we would contend at HighRoad that social media should not be relegated to one person on staff, but that it needs to be a mix across all of the business owners and stakeholders, including your kind of brand ambassadors within your volunteer channels and leadership, et cetera. But when you have that going on, automation is a key way to actually be able to do that effectively, efficiently, and be able to manage it so you're effective at doing it. So that's a great indicator too. So if you're just the one person and you've got that person dedicated to social and it's all in their head and they use Excel and 40 different channels that they log into and they know all the passwords, and maybe automation doesn't fit you. But if you're like most of us where you've got a lot of people, a lot of cooks in the kitchen there, using an automation platform makes a whole lot of sense because it's trackable, it's centralized, and you can schedule it, et cetera. It's also time to go to automation when you need to appear bigger than you are. And for most of us, I would also contend that also is the case where we need to be able to be more places at once. We're in a 24-hour, 24/7, 365-day kind of world where we need to be able to serve members and donors on their time and on their schedule, regardless of where they might be. We need to be there. So that also might be a great time for you to say, automation makes a lot of sense here because we can be able to schedule things to go out and tweet things or to be able to post to Facebook at all hours of the day and all times of the week, so I could go ahead and schedule that even if I'm not in the office. So automation allows you to be able to extend your staff resources out to times when somebody's not physically manning the phones or email, et cetera. And again, that's a world we're moving into where organizations are starting to get comfortable with the fact that, hey, it's okay to send out our email newsletter even though somebody is not sitting in the office in case, the one member out of, 40,000 should call, that's okay. We can set some standards and do something around that where we can actually do more without having to be so tied in a one-to-one relationship between when the end user wants the content and then when we're actually physically delivering it. It's also a good time to graduate when you really need to be able to start really doing reporting. When you start really getting into metrics, when you start really saying, hey, we need to use key performance indicators or KPIs to be able to understand, is the money we're putting out in digital marketing, in marketing as a whole, is it worth it? Okay, so when we start to really measure our spend so that we can get more money to spend and do more work with, it's important that we're able to track these things effectively and start looking at what are the appropriate measurements of success, right? And I'd also tell you that in 2013, just going for volume is not necessarily an indicator of success, meaning just because you have 4,000 Twitter followers might mean nothing, because you know what, you can buy those followers if you wanted. You can look that way. You have 4,000 and 3,000 are just people that are random, that aren't really doing anything with you and not ever looking at your feed. Then having 100 that are really engaged is a lot more valuable than the volume. And we're in a world now where quality is much more important than quantity. But we need to be able to find out who those people are. So how do we track down people and start honing in on quality and really getting good at targeting? And that's what, of course, today's marketing is all about, being able to really effectively target. We need some help in doing that, because if we had to do it manually, it would take forever. We wouldn't be able to get back to being creative and cross-functional like we were talking about. And last and not least, it's really time to graduate to social marketing automation, when you need to do a lot more cross-reference. And what I mean by that is when you understand that you're designing around the user, when you're really doing user-centric messaging design, you understand that it is a little too much to ask the user to have to constantly go out to your YouTube channel, your Google Plus page, your LinkedIn feed, your Twitter page, et cetera, that's a lot to ask. And what would be better is if you could constantly kind of recombine what you're putting out there in different places where they're going to trip across them, and it doesn't take a lot for them to go and find that content. And you'll see exactly what we talk about, what I mean by that, in just a few minutes when we look at social canvas pages, okay? And that's the purpose of these things called social canvas. When we need to cross-reference, and now our job is in curating and talking about packaging content and how to put it up. Think if I was working at a department store and I'm working on window displays, and what I really want to get good at is how to put different pieces of content that are coming from different channels in kind of a storefront display, so that my intended member or my intended audience sees that and says, oh, my interest is piqued about this particular YouTube video that I didn't even know you had. And today's game is all about taking that small opportunity we have when someone's paying attention and widening that up just a little bit to get more information to them, so that you surprise them with something they didn't know that you offered. And that's a big part of it. That's very different than being on a website and seeing little buttons for Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn that just sit there. Okay, so the likelihood of people engaging that way, not so high. But if they're already on your Facebook page, let's say, and they can find other channels that they didn't even know you had, well, you can get them to kind of, hopefully kind of veer off and start exploring down some of the other content channels that you're offering. Okay, so common areas that people do social marketing automation. The most common, and this is what I referred to a couple minutes ago, is just posting. So again, if you've ever spent any time taking one message and posting it on Twitter, and then posting it on Facebook, and then posting it on LinkedIn, and then maybe creating a Facebook event for it, and then going back and posting it to your website, and then putting it into your newsletter, you know that I just named 6 things, and that already it takes more than 6 minutes to do. So that's already, every time I need to do that, you're probably looking at 15 minutes for just one message to post, if not longer. Because again, you really should have written that message specifically for each one of those channels. So what can we do in terms of automating posting? And again, there's a lot of platforms out there. The most common one in the association world is probably seen as Hootsuite, where people will use that as an aggregator to both post to multiple channels at one time, as well as to track hashtags and Twitter handles and be able to follow people effectively. And that's a really common one that you see all the time. But that's just one small area of social marketing automation. The other ones is really being able to do the reporting, and doing the reporting effectively, where you're really bringing in one place all of your brands and channels that you're managing, and looking at reporting across channels in a way that you can actually export that and speak effectively to your stakeholders. Another one would be when you need a great way to do interactive, visually stimulating types of things, such as that are really meant for engagement, that are typically, for whatever reason, still very difficult to do. And those would be things like landing pages, data collection, sign-up forms, things like that, and being able to have something where, again, people are interacting with you. For example, contests, polling, being able to vote for things. So if you start thinking about that piece of it. And so landing pages, you're not familiar with that term. So here's a great one. Within Facebook, Facebook ads can be, depending on your audience always, or LinkedIn ads can be, depending on your audience, phenomenal in getting you brand awareness for your organization or getting people to, let's say, register for the upcoming event. But associations, for whatever reason, typically, let's say, are not using digital banner ads from Facebook or LinkedIn, even though you can get them very targeted. Even you can target them to your members. But a lot of people aren't familiar with that. But you can use those, and let's say I click on that, I can actually click on that little banner ad. I can drive people, I could drive them just to my regular website and have them, one, figure out where to go there or to register for the conference, but I could draw them to, let's say, a landing page, which is going to give them a specific offer to help incent them to actually convert into, let's say, becoming a registrant. That interim page is called a landing page, and we'll look at these in a second as well. They're used all the time in digital marketing because you can then track and look at the conversions between somebody who saw your ad, somebody who filled out the landing page, let's say to register for whatever it might be, a webinar, a virtual event, an actual live event, to download a paper, to sign up for a certification class, et cetera. And then I can tie that data back into my rest of my systems, et cetera. The thing about those is there's kind of these website pages that hang out in the world that aren't necessarily tied into your regular website. And for a lot of organizations, they don't have the means or the technical know-how for somebody to sit down and develop those for you. And also, it sometimes can be very difficult, or maybe you have to use an outside party to go get somebody code you a simple form for you to, let's say, have people sign up for new newsletters or to take polls or to sign up for a volunteer activity or something like that. And so today's social marketing platforms actually understand that challenge and provide things very easily for you for the non-technical person to be able to do things technically in the social media sphere very easily. And that's the whole key there. And a great one as an example would be things like doing contests. It's phenomenal for event marketing specifically because usually event marketing does have so many other kind of digital pieces to it, like video and great photos and giveaways and contests, et cetera, et cetera. And again, this is a world that's new for the most part on the association side, where people can really start taking advantage of this. And, and you could, sky's the limit. You could maybe have sponsor pages and they could sponsor it. There's all sorts of stuff you can do. So this is this is going from the very easy of talking about automating just posting all the way going forward into talking about new revenue generating opportunities that associations could have out in the digital marketing space. Okay, so that's a big spectrum, and that's what I'm trying to leave you with. So what I want to do now, these are the common areas, and I want to then turn and look at an actual social marketing automation platform live and go through some of these, and so you get a real visual as to how some of these big brands are now really being able to manage this effectively. I'm going to switch over here. All right. All right, and so what we're now looking at is we're actually looking at a social media marketing platform called Shoutlet. And Shoutlet is something that we here provide at HighRoad, and it's also something that you're going to see more and more because it is completely integrated with the email platform of our Blue Hornet email platform that we also provide, and we service more than, let's say, a couple hundred organizations on right now out in the association and nonprofit space. Now, I'll just kind of make one sort of allusion here. Back in about, I want to say July of this year, I did a webinar called Go Social through the ASE Lunch Learning Series because we're the endorsed partner. And within that webinar, it talked all about our integration between our email platform and Shoutlet for being able to do really great social media, social sharing options completely already embedded within your email newsletter. And that's something that, if you're interested, we'll go ahead and send the link after this webinar. But just to let you know, that's something that is absolutely de facto now out in the world of email marketing and marketing automation. But we want to talk about how Shoutlet and Blue Horn has taken this even farther and is really being able to now push this out into something that where you're seeing now what's really happening in the world, and you want to go with a platform provider that has this, where what you're really seeing is that social media marketing and email marketing and marketing automation, these three are merging together into seamless platforms where the data is just flowing. And of course, at HighRoad, we're experts at tying that back into your association management system and being able to pull it together with your content management, right? We're all about automation. So nonetheless, so just FYI. So here's the Shoutlet social marketing automation platform. And what we're looking at right now is just my home page and all of my different pods that I have to look at. What I want to do is kind of start from the very beginning and just look at our account. Now you're looking at literally the way that I handle our social media marketing at HighRoad. And I want to step back and just look at our settings for just a second, because I just want to give you a little flavor as to why this platform is so incredibly powerful. So first and foremost, I want to talk to you about our settings. So the way that you get this is you get your account to Shoutlet, and then what you can do is you can go through here and you can set up all of your different channels that you already have. So you're going to put in your settings, you're going to put in your login credentials, et cetera, for each one. But what I want you to notice here is that we are able to manage more than one thing, is what I was telling you. So you have multi-channel management within the social marketing automation platform. And that's just fantastic, because it could be that you have multiple accounts that you manage. For example, for us, within our Twitter world, we have HighRoad Soul, which is our corporate Twitter account, and we also have HRS Alerts, which we use to be able to message basically our whoever our point of contact is at our client organizations when there's something that they need to know about their actual product platform. But you can see I could add as many of these as I wanted. So if I wanted, I could also add my Twitter handles for things like my CEO, my CTO. I could add it for different campaigns and on, and be able to manage this whole thing right from here. Now what's great about this is if you have like an executive director or something, and they want to, they need help, as often they do, in being able to tweet effectively and report effectively, etc., you could be able to be doing some ghostwriting for them, et cetera, but they could also continue to do their own, and together as a team, you can combine to do a much better way of promoting that corporate kind of brand and that for your, let's say, executive director. So I'm going to go ahead and connect all of these. You can also see in Facebook, we have multiple accounts that we manage within here. We have a couple of accounts of our individual people, and then we have a couple of pages also that we also help in being able to take care of and manage. So that's really nice as well. So again, I have many, many pages, it might be a better way to see this, that we go ahead and we manage. And that makes it super easy for us to be able to help out and provide extra support, if you will, but also to keep it centralized on the reporting. Now that type of thing would work just great, especially if you're like an international or national association and have lots of different chapters, or have different committees, or have different groups, or some sort of, you know, pieces within there that you'd love to see at the centralized area for understanding your reach and your influence as a brand, okay? So you have the ability to do that. So what's nice here is you can see that I can set up my accounts, etc., and then put in parameters, and I can decide who can, I can always do permissions and like how many people can use the platform and what they can do on it, etc. Some of the other nice things that you'll see that are in here is we have the ability to go ahead and put in word filters. Now I'm not going to pop that open because then we'll see a bunch of nasty words, because what that's doing is automatically across all of my social channels flagging anybody who should use a dirty word that we see as dirty, and then making sure that that thing is automatically blocked. Now, when you're in reputation management, and associations and nonprofits tend to be a little risk averse, that becomes a very nice feature when you're trying to manage, again, multiple channels, you know, and try to have an ever-present kind of nature there. This is kind of like having a, you know, a safety cop there watching over to make sure your reputation is staying where you want it to be in terms of language. It also is nice because you can see here One of the nice things you can do in distribution options, let's say when you're talking about posting onto Facebook, etc., is you can do targeting. Now this is fantastic because this means that automatically when and I'm going to move you over for a second, and I'm going to post to Facebook, I can already go ahead and post to different groups that I've pre-made in terms of targeting, okay? Now why is that so great? Well, you can see here I can make as many as I want. And one group you can see that I've made is targeting specifically millennials. We know that millennials as a whole is a target for many of us in the association nonprofit world. And what's great about that is, Facebook, like LinkedIn, has great numbers of targeting options that you can actually use. You see them a lot if you're doing banner ads in Facebook or LinkedIn, but a lot of people don't know that you can now use that same targeting options for even when you're posting. So I'm going to post something, but you can see here, I've added a filter. If I'm doing a posting in Facebook, I want to target just millennials, and I've already set that up to be millennials I'm looking at from a minimum age of 18 to 25, but I could add more filters. And if you didn't know it, Facebook has all the ability. So I could say not only do I want that, I just want to target the ones in the United States. I just want to be within a specific state of, let's say, Virginia, et cetera, et cetera. So I can start taking advantage of a lot of the controls that are inherent within Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube that have now, Shoutlet has now pulled in and put into this automated format, so I can do a more effective job easily in being able to post content to Facebook and target it, so it's only going to show up to those specific people. What's great about that? That is completely now down with the program of being user-centric and being very targeted in who's going to care about this. This is very different than me just saying, I as an organization have a message, and it's the same message, and if the message isn't for you, then you're just going to have to ignore it, but I'm going to post the same message on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and my website, etc. This is now only going to appear to people who really do fit this description, and then you'll see it. So ostensibly, you should see higher rates. And also, that means that people, when they're now using their Facebook page and going to your page, they're going to find you more relevant and pay more attention to you because what you're posting is actually for them, okay? And so you can actually now stay in their feed a little bit a higher priority, and they're probably looking at you more likely if you're actually giving something that they care about. So that's a fantastic piece that's built in here. So, like I said, we're just going to do an overview. So at this point, I've set up my account. I've connected in whatever channels I want to. I've done a couple things. I've set up my users. I've decided who my contacts will be, etc. And I'm going to come over here and now just look at what's called social CRM, okay? And in social CRM, by the way, of course, I can set up all sorts of things like approval processes and things that are just, in our book, just completely standard to any sort of modern-day software system. That would be permissions and roles and approval systems and workflow and calendaring. Those are all just part and parcel. But what this does is now in one place, I can go ahead and decide posting to my Facebook page, Twitter, et cetera, and I can see all of this together. So what's the difference here? This means instead of having to go out and learn the Facebook interface and the Twitter interface and the YouTube interface and my LinkedIn interface, I'm actually doing all of my work in one interface all of the time. This is a lot faster for staff people. It completely cuts down on the incidents of forgot my password and screwing that up for the whole organization. And again, with the tracking, once I'm putting everything through this one portal, I'm able to then look at all the reports collectively across these different channels that I'm looking at. So for example, here I am on Facebook. I can go ahead and make a new post, come in here, create my post, put it in, message it. I can schedule it. I can then put in what campaign I'm running this against. You can build in as many campaigns as you like. I can go ahead and tag it, etc., and I can go ahead and decide when I want to schedule it. That, of course, is going to go into a master schedule, and then everybody, when I said, more than one person is nowadays doing this, I can look at this collectively to look at the calendar and be able to see when all of my different tweets are going out in Facebook posts and LinkedIn posts, et cetera, and you could put in your newsletter here as well, and that's what that Blue Hornet to Shoutlet allows you to do, where everything becomes actually on one master calendar. Okay, so I'm not going to post it if this is my live account. But you can also see what's nice here is I've got, I can look at all of my different accounts. Okay, I can look, remember we were talking about, these are my differences between my Twitter accounts and HighRoad Soul and HRS Alerts. And I can be able to do some filtering, and I can be able to see very easily who replied. I can look at it by my tags. I can look at who I targeted, right? I can look at my time frame, et cetera. And of course, I can export it all. Isn't that lovely? So I can actually export all of that should I want to, et cetera. And also when I'm within here and I'm looking at my Twitter mentions, I can also go ahead and do things commonly done like favoriting and retweeting and DM people. And I can also assign a task to someone. So maybe I see this and it's something that I really need to assign to my member services staff, or I want to send over to publications, or somebody's mentioned me, et cetera, et cetera. So I could go ahead and just assign a task right from the actual tweet and be able to assign it to that particular person, put it on their calendar, et cetera. And now operationally as an organization, I've gotten a lot faster instead of doing what many organizations do, which is they use the basically screenshot approach where they take a picture, an image of the tweet or what have you that they might be found offensive or somebody's watching this and they send it to somebody as an attachment in email and then somebody has something to do with it. This makes it a much more nimble organization where people can sense and respond much more quickly. So suffice it to say that when I'm in my Twitter, within Facebook, et cetera, I'm going to see all the things that I would see if I was managing my regular kind of Facebook posts across all of my channels we're looking at. You're going to see any of the comments we have. This is basically just taking a consolidated view if I was to log into my Facebook page and looking at the behind the scenes of it in the administrative part. But again, it's pulling it into Shallot to make it nice and easy for me so that I can actually understand and see everything in one place. And within here, I can do things like take actions on here. You can see it's pulling in some of their Facebook IDs and their gender. So if I wanted, I can get into kind of some advanced analytics and segmentation and things like that. I can also go ahead and manage all of my albums within here, which is wonderful and makes it nice and easy for me to handle if I'm doing albums or if I want to handle that. And you can see I have different pages that I'm using. These are different accounts that we're managing, et cetera. And then I can load the page and go from there. So basically, it's pulling in all of the functions that I have within my regular Facebook page, but consolidating it again, one nice interface that's tracked. So the same thing goes for Twitter. And I can see all the functions that I have within Twitter, and the same with YouTube. And I can post my videos, et cetera, with here. And I can search and track and whatnot. Okay, so things that we would expect to do. So this, again, this is that aggregation of being able to post. So that's nice. But I also can do some other interesting things in here. And a lot of people now buy software to be able to track social profiles. And I can actually do it very easily, and it's just built into Shallot. So without having to go out and buy or subscribe to another piece of software, what I can do is I can actually look at all of my social profiles that I have, and these are people that are either following me or that I'm tracking, et cetera, and I can actually pull in their data and be able to do something with it. So I can take action with them. So I can create different lists within here. I can create different segments. I can tag them. So maybe I want to create a segment of all the people who came to annual meeting or all the people who are first-time attendees, right? So maybe they're going to follow me on a particular hashtag, and I want to pull out just the first-time attendees so that I can later send them a direct message or send them a mobile message saying, please come have a cocktail on us when I'm at the live event. I can do that very easily, again, within Shallot. So those are some other nice functions. And we also have full feeds within here. Here's my task management calendar, and I can run campaigns and use tags, et cetera. And then one of my favorites, and most digital marketers' favorites, is I can also be able to track all of my shortened URLs. So instead of having to have a different account with Bitly or a different account with Owly or a different account or go into Google's URL manager, I can actually just do all of my short URLs within here, create as many as I'd like. Let me pull in something here. Create my short URL dynamically, and then it will also give me automatically a QR code. And of course, I can put in different hash pieces on it and additional query strings for being able to use source codes and things like that, and will automatically keep my QR code. I can download it, put it onto whatnot. But then this is great because then I can manage everything in one place. And again, why? Because it goes back to reporting. So suffice it to say, within all of these places, I can be able to manage publications of my contests and things like that. So let's now talk about that next generation then, because this is great that I can post it, etc. But then I want to be able to aggregate it together and report it, and then we want to talk about these social canvases. So let's just move over to reporting since we're talking about this. So again, another great thing that's wonderful about Shellit is that I can get all of my reporting in one place. So here I'm looking at my reporting dashboard, but of course I can drill down into each one of my channels and look at my reach and people talking about this, etc. Now I can get all this if I go back onto my own panel within my HighRoad Facebook page, but I have to go in here, plus I have to go over to LinkedIn, right? Plus I have to go to YouTube, plus I have to go to those places. Why not just use this dashboard that's pulling all of this in for me and giving me even better things like being able to save it, being able to export the charts, etc., that I'm really kind of on my game. Okay, so that's wonderful because it shows me across whatever accounts that I'm tracking what's happening with our videos, et cetera, okay? And so that's a nice graph. Everybody wants to see that one. That's the right way. That's not the right way, but this one's a nice one. So our number of views are going up, et cetera. What's also great is any of my canvases that I'm using, I can also track these and be able to see who's using them, and we'll talk about that in a second, along with our contests and polls and our click tracking. We just talked about the managed URLs we're looking at. We just created them. And we can come in here and we can see who's using them and how often, and be able to draw reports on those things. Okay? So that's great. So even if I'm just looking at my, again, don't have to go into Bitly and try to pull a report and draw it together and say, well, how does that connect in with my Facebook that I just posted that's going and using that shortened link and using with newsletters and using it with websites. Hopefully you're seeing that all these things start to come together, and then this tool is being able to manage this reporting capability for you. Okay, so here's all again of our reporting pieces, and we can report across all sorts of stuff. But I want to talk about what the other stuff might be. So I think it's very clear that we can do great reporting within our channels that we're familiar with, et cetera. But what are some of these new things that we can do that we perhaps have not been able to easily do in the past? And that's where this concept of social canvases come in. And what social canvases are is basically it's a landing page designer. And the landing page designer will allow you to, here it's asking, what do you want to design today? You can design a canvas from scratch, a contest design, so it's basically a wizard that will help walk you through it, or you can work on a previous project that you've already been working on. So I'm going to pull up a previous project that I've already been working on, and I want to explain to you what I'm actually looking at and the power of what this means, especially to non-technical people, which tends to be the majority of us in the marketing communication side. Now, if you're lucky enough to have somebody on staff that is like your technical person and they work in your marketing communications kind of department, well, then that is absolutely the best of all worlds. But even with that, they can get very bottlenecked because they are so skilled. So this becomes something that is very easy to set up that you can then go ahead and manage long term and not have to have that reliance on your technical staff. So what in the world are we looking at? So let's just pop out here for a second to our actual HighRoad. This is our actual real HighRoad Facebook page. And if you notice here, I've added a little custom page within here. You know, you can always add in these boxes here. And I've added a new one, and I've called it the U. And within here, I've created a brand new Facebook app page, okay, that's live and running. And on this page, I've done this just for demo today, but you can see that I put in a background image, I put in some text, I'm pulling in a video from our YouTube page. This is coming from our LinkedIn profile. I've pulled in a lot of different buttons that you might want to do for recommending. I put in our Google Plus one button. I put in my follow on Pinterest because a lot of people have Pinterest, but they don't really know how to market Pinterest. And marketing Pinterest within Facebook is a great way to do it. Same thing with Instagram. And also I pulled in some of my Twitter wall for HighRoad Soul. And I put in a volunteer sign-up form. Okay, so I've done all of these things. And again, remember, This is just meant to be a demo, and I just slapped it on here. But I've done this so you can understand that I've created a completely custom place within my Facebook wall where people can now come in here on my Facebook page and be able to do more stuff than before, okay? What does that mean to associations and nonprofits? Well, you know what? Again, if you're an association and you have a certification, or if you have a product that you're trying to push, or a new service you're trying to bring to market, or you're doing a poll, or you're trying to do a giveaway, or you have any sort of registration ever, or you're trying to sell a book or a subscription or renewal, or do something interesting or fun, what a great place to be able to make as many of these types of pages as you want. And these Facebook app pages can then be completely managed within your social canvas page very, very easily. And the whole thing, again, comes back to kind of today's world of software, which is based on drag and drop and embed codes and being able to dynamically change things on the fly. So like I said, I did this whole page very quickly by literally just adding in these components, right? So within Twitter, I can say, well, I want to be able to put in a Twitter follow button, and I just want to go ahead and add that in. I'm going to put in, I want them to follow HighRoad Soul, and I'm going to say, yep, and there's my button. Easy as that, and then I can move it around the page. So that means that really anybody can come in here and be able to say, I'm pulling in my Twitter feed, but actually I want it to only be 500 pixels wide. And my board member says they really love pink and they want to put in a pink border, etc. And so I can go ahead and make these changes on the fly and be able to update it and save it, and this thing is going to publish out automatically to my actual real Facebook page. Okay? So the implications for what this means is huge, because that means that I can really now create multiple of these pages easily and combine all of these different social media channels in one spot. So within, let's say, my Facebook page, I can maybe have a whole page on featured videos for, let's say, it's a whole member testimonial wall. Maybe it's something for the people that I want to really praise and recognize. Maybe it's one whole page that this is like a modern day take on doing my daily at my event. What you can do with this is huge, because you have all of the tools to be able to put in text, images, videos, HTML, and then be able to embed all of these things from SlideShare, Spotify, Pinterest, LinkedIn, YouTube, etc., in a very easy way that's all you're doing is pointing and clicking. And again, you can make as many of these as you want and be able to publish it out dynamically. And again, what's great is, as we saw, we can then also do the reporting on it. You can do the same thing, by the way, and this is exactly how you would create your own poll down here, or your own contest, is you would just be able to create another one, add a new design, put in any background you want, put in any formatting, etc., and be able to start to create more of these kinds of landing pages for whatever it is that you're trying to do. Again, what a great way to be able to repurpose and remarket effectively things like your Flickr account, your contest, other modules, etc. And again, no reason you couldn't publish your newsletter, that's the browser-based one, out to this page as well, if it makes sense. So a great way to combine and do some real modern marketing across channels, that now all of the pieces that have been put into this page are therefore then also tracked. So now what you're doing is really being in control of creating these user experiences across different social media channels. That's really the power of a platform such as Shoutlet in really being able to automate social marketing. So you're going past the grunt level work of cutting and pasting and posting and being able to track things across channels, to really being able to get creative about your communications and structure experiences for the members. So being able to use that segmentation, being able to understand how you're posting, etc., and looking at it all together is going to give you something that gives you a much better way of being able to manage multiple channels in a kind of a multi-brand world. Those are the pieces that I wanted to cover today, and just give you a high-level sense of the power of Shoutlet. And again, we could drill down to any one of these and spend easily an hour on it. But hopefully you've gotten a sense of that tools like this are out there now that you could get from HighRoad, and you could be able to put into your own mix and really help to, again, as we like to say, free up your time so you can get creative again and you can be able to live your life. So I'm happy to take any questions. Should we have any, Jeff? But if not, then hopefully everybody's enjoyed looking at Shoutlet today. And again, more information, please come to HighRoad for that.
All right, thank you, Suzanne. It is now time for the Q&A segment of our webinar today. Your participation is key, so please don't be afraid to ask your questions. You can ask a question via the webinar system simply by typing it into the Q&A pod on the lower right-hand side of the screen and then clicking the call out button or hitting enter on your keyboard. While those are coming in, I want to remind you that HighRoad Solution is an ASAE CAE approved provider of educational content. With your participation in this live event, you have earned your CAE credit. To be accounted for, please enter your first and last name into the Q&A box to ensure we account for your participation. All right. Looks like our first question here. Can you have multiple administrator user logins and passwords for Shoutlet?
Yes, you absolutely can. So one of the great things about that is that, again, you can set up permissions just like you would with, hopefully your current content management system or your email marketing platform, and you could be able to designate. So you might have that, Sherry manages YouTube, but Neil manages LinkedIn, and they can only really update to those particular ones or something to that effect, and that's okay as well. Or somebody submits it, but somebody else approves it. So any of those combinations you could do.
Okay. Next question, is it really as easy as you make it look?
The answer always to that is you can try it for yourself. No, it is. I mean, it really is. I mean, if you're used to working at all on websites and blogs and things like that, this is really using the most modern, up-to-date user interface experience that you can have. The drag and drop and just fill things in. And by the way, I don't think I really probably did justice on how much you can drill down onto formatting of things and being able to format the styles and the background colors and the images and on and on. It really gives you that level of flexibility, plus always giving you the total design aspect to have carte blanche access to CSS, so that if you do have a designer on staff, they can go to town with really putting in stuff exactly the way they want it to display. You're looking at my ugly just cutting and pasting, quickly just to give you a sense of what this could do. But somebody that really has great CSS and HTML skills, they can make unbelievably beautiful social canvas pages. And again, what's exciting to me for that is if you don't have to wait for it. You don't have to wait to have some process go, and you have to outsource it and get it coded, and it costs a lot of money, so therefore you can only do one a year, something like that. This is something that's dynamic. You can get your Facebook app page approved, get it in there, and be able to update it constantly so it's refreshed. And what you're doing, if you can do that well, and then what your marketing can be focused in on, is marketing, let's say, your Facebook page, which you want people to go to anyway, but you're teaching those users that if they come to your Facebook page all the time, or if your page keeps coming up in their news feed, you're keeping top of mind in a place that they are already probably visiting, maybe all the time. Same with LinkedIn, and you're teaching them that they can just go to LinkedIn or just go to Facebook and get the content that you've posted all over the place, right? So you've given them kind of a CNN way of finding content across all these different places. So you've become the aggregator for them, and you're providing them concierge level service about the information, which is fantastic. It's like what people did on the website, I don't know, 7-8 years ago, when they had like the member profile page and they put in all the updates that would be applicable to that particular member. This is taking that same idea of concierge level service for information, but putting it out into the social space where people are actually there all the time and using, and that's already optimized for mobile.
All right, great. Thank you very much, Suzanne. And thank you, everyone, for your participation in today's webinar, Automate Your Social Marketing. In order to meet your educational content needs, we need to know what you think. Please take a moment and complete the short survey located in the important information box in the top right-hand corner. If you have any additional questions or comments, please email us at support@highroadsolution.com. Today's session was recorded. You will receive an email within the next few days with a link to the webinar recording. Today's webinar is copyrighted by HighRoad Solution with all rights reserved. This concludes today's program. Thank you, and you may now disconnect.